यशोदानन्दन प्रजनन यशोदानन्दन प्रजनन ओके यमुना तीरावन चारी तीरावन चारी राधा माधवा कुंज यशोदन जन यशोदन जन हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण
कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण Jai Jagannath Jai Subhadra Jai एवं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री ललिता ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। द्वारका धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर भक्त प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Harihi Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to Iskcon Seshadripuram's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. So today I have been asked to discuss 3 verses. I will share the screen. So we are discussing today Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto, 1st chapter, 53 to 55. That is what we have been asked to discuss. We will chant the first verse in Sanskrit, and then the second, third, we will read the translation. Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, first chapter. And the chapter is entitled Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. So we will we'll chant the sloka. Yayorjanmani yadho vishvam abhyanandat sunirvritam manamsi kakubho vataha praseduhu sharito adrayaha yayorjanman yado vishvam adyanandat sunirvritam manamsi kakubho vataha praseduhu sarito adrayaha yayorjanman yado vishvam adyanandat sunirvritam manamsi kakubho vataha praseduhu sarito adrayaha. Synonyms. Yayo, both of whom, Nara and Narayana. Janmani, on the appearance. Adaha, that. Vishwam, universe. Adyanandat, became glad. Su nirvritam, full of joy. Manamsi, everyone's mind. Kakubuh, the directions. Vataha, the air. Prasedhu, became pleasant. Saritaha, the rivers. Adrayaha, the mountains. Translation. On the occasion of the appearance of Nara Narayana, the entire world was full of joy. Everyone's mind became tranquil, and thus in all directions, the air, the rivers, and the mountains become pleasant. So there's no purport for this. And even the next two does not have any purport. We will just read the translation. In the heavenly planets, bands began to play, and they showered flowers from the sky. The pacified sages chanted Vedic prayers. The denizens of heaven, known as the Gandharvas and Kinnaras, sang. The beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets danced. And in this way, at the time of the appearance of Nara Narayana, all signs of good fortune were visible. Just at that time, great demigods like Brahma also offered their respectful prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirdisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Om Tat Sat. So this chapter is entitled Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. So here this is all about the creation of the world in the overall aspect of it, and then the appearance of Manu and then his daughters, and how the further progeny were created, because the idea is to actually create all the jivas so that they can come into this material world, and then they can continue their journey towards self-realization. So that is the background. In that sense, here all the daughters of the Manu, they have been discussed, and then which daughter gave birth to which son or daughter, and their daughter was or their son, basically their daughter, whom they married and who they gave birth to, like that it has been discussed. In the previous verse also we saw, if you can see there, it says, "My dear Vidura, the population of the universe was thus increased by the descendants of these sages and the daughters of Kardama. Anyone who hears the descriptions of this dynasty with faith will be relieved from all sinful reactions. Another of Manu's daughters, known as Prasuti, married the son of Brahma named Daksha. So then Daksha and Prasuti, they gave birth to many daughters. And in that, one of the daughters was named as Murti. And she actually is considered a reservoir of all respectable qualities, gave birth to Sri Naranarayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are, the Lord appears in many, many different periods, in different forms, in different portions, we can say like that. That means the Lord sometimes appears in his as his direct manifestation, sometimes as manifestation of his manifestations, like that. And more, and these are all expansions of direct expansions of the Lord, and his subsequent expansions of his expansions, like that. So there are innumerable expansions happening all over the various universes, and even as we talk, there are hundreds and hundreds of incarnations happening in different planetary systems. So this is one such appearance of the Lord in the form of Naranarayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now, if you really see, there are no translations given by Srila Prabhupada. So normally, when there is no translation, the etiquette is, no purport given by Srila Prabhupada. So the etiquette is, if there is no purport, we just go on to the next verse. So that is how it is. But somehow here 3 verses are there, and we have been asked to speak on this. So again, one is Prabhupada has not given a purport because they are self-explanatory, and he did not feel the need to give a purport. And the second one is, when Prabhupada has not given a purport, what can we speak of? We are not realized souls that we can speak something on our own. Yeah, of course, we can pick up from somewhere else. Prabhupada has spoken on this subject and speak. And therefore, I was thinking today, give a little bit of a, overview on this, whatever that actual translation is given, and then try to see in relation to this some other incarnation, for us, most importantly, Lord Krishna's appearance, and when he appeared, how the things were. We will see from Bhagavatam 10th canto. I was thinking that way we can discuss today. Because it's important that we stick to the verses that we have been given. We can speak some other subject, but that is not also etiquette, that we should speak what is being given to us within the framework of those verses. So let me read the translation once again, 53rd verse. On the occasion of the appearance of Naranarayana, the entire world was full of joy. Everyone's mind became tranquil, and thus in all directions, the air, the rivers, and the mountains became pleasant. This is the first one. And the second one, in the heavenly planets, bands began to play, and they showered flowers from the sky. The pacified sages chanted Vedic prayers. The denizens of heaven, known as the Gandharvas and Kinnaras, sang. The beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets danced. And in this way, at the time of the appearance of Naranarayana, all signs of good fortune were visible. Just at that time, great demigods like Brahma also offered their respectful prayers. So this is very natural, and as I said, it's very self-explanatory. When the Lord appears, it is not an ordinary thing, right? It's not like, okay, some ordinary mortal is taking birth. But when the Lord is appearing, naturally everything has to be very jubilant, and the whole place will become completely auspicious. Wherever the Lord, like when we do Govardhan Parikram, we go around and see wherever the Lord's footsteps are there, that is so auspicious. People sometimes, when the Lord's footsteps are imprinted in some rock or something like that, then that, everybody worship that footprint so much. There's so much Vishnu Pada in many places in India, and people worship that with so much reverence. Now imagine that Lord is appearing physically, and then he's playing and he's doing whatever he's doing, his pastimes in a particular piece of land. And when he's personally appearing, how auspicious that entire place will become. So this is self-explanatory in that sense that, it is natural that it becomes like that. So in that context, whenever the Lord appears, be it when the Lord appeared when he appeared as Rama, how the whole atmosphere was, or when he appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how the whole atmosphere became. No, everybody was chanting. In fact, the constellations also change according to the when the Lord appears, because we all know there is the science of astrology, which is also a mix of astronomy. That we all know the planetary systems are actually there, which governs the life of a jiva. When a jiva is appearing on the material world, he appears at a particular point in time, and in a way that he is able to experience his karma. So various planetary systems are the the Indra, Chandra, the Surya, the Ragu, the Sukra, and all of these various planetary systems are the demigods. They are the one who are supposed to give us the benefits of our past karma, right? They are the administrators of the material world, and they are also supervising what we are supposed to get, what we are not supposed to get. So if our karma is good, that we should not, we should have a very wonderful, auspicious life, then there is no famine, there is no this one and those kind of things. But there are times when, because of our past karma, we should suffer with lack of water, just like we are having in Bangalore. That there is this karma for us that we should suffer. And then the various lords, Indra, Varuna, all of these people do not give us water like this. So the astrology is actually based on our past karma, which is indicated by the position of the various stars, which are in the celestial in the what you call the influence of the stars, the vibrations, or whatever, however you call it, that they influence our activities. Now, when the Lord appears, he is not subjected to any of these things, right? Why is there a question of, because the Lord is above all of these planetary systems. There is nothing called karma for him. He appears out of his own sweet will. So that is the reality. However, just to because the science of astrology also needs to be given some weightage, right? So the Lord does not want to what do you call do something like he appears at a time when then the whole what do you call the influence of that particular time is supposed to be negative. Let's say at that time, if the Lord decides to appear, naturally it will not be negative for him, because he is not bound by this laws of karma. But at the same time, then people may interpret this, oh, the astrology is wrong, right? Because this is a very bad time, but the Lord has appeared, and then everything is auspicious. How can that be? So the Lord, whenever he appears, the constellations adjust to in a way that it is auspicious time. This is just for this in a way, for a person who's a pure devotee, he's not at all affected by such things. Like, he doesn't care. But for the common 99% of the common public, these things are very, very thing. They will watch all these things. It happened like this. How did that? Therefore, either astronomy is wrong, or they will say this is not God. Those kind of things will happen. Therefore, to have that instill a little bit of a faith in these kind of devotees who are not fully steady in their devotion, the Lord ensures, okay, let astronomy also be true. In the sense, whenever he appears, the constellations change in such a way that it becomes an auspicious time, that we can see. And everything becomes auspicious. Towards that end, let us see some verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, where during the appearance of Lord Krishna, how the situation was. Let me try and open up those verses so we can read together. Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, 3rd chapter. the birth of Lord Krishna. I'm taking that one. From that, 1 to 5. We will see a few verses there. I'll share the screen. Okay, so here if you see, 1 to 5 is a continuous verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada has given commentary on that. We can read that commentary. Translation. Thereafter, at the auspicious time for the appearance of the Lord, the entire universe was surcharged with all the qualities of goodness, beauty, and peace. The constellation Rohini appeared, as did stars like Ashwini. The sun, the moon, and the other stars and planets were very peaceful. All directions appeared extremely pleasing, and the beautiful stars twinkled in the cloudless sky. Decorated with towns, villages, mines, and pasturing grounds, the earth seemed all auspicious. The rivers flowed with clear water, and the lakes and vast reservoirs, full of lilies and lotuses, were extraordinarily beautiful. In the trees and green plants, full of flowers and leaves, pleasing to the eyes, birds like cuckoos and swarms of bees began chanting with sweet voices for the sake of the demigods. A pure breeze began to blow, pleasing the senses of touch and hearing the aroma of flowers. And when the Brahmanas, engaging in ritualistic ceremonies, ignited their fires according to Vedic principles, the fires burned steadily, undisturbed by the breeze. Thus, when the birthless Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was about to appear, the saints, the Brahmanas, and Brahmanas who had always been disturbed by demons like Kamsa and his men felt peace within the core of their heart, and kettle drums simultaneously vibrated from the upper planetary systems. And we read Prabhupada's purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his appearance, birth, and activities are all transcendental, and that one who factually understands them is immediately eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord's appearance or birth is not like that of an ordinary man who is forced to accept a material body according to his past deeds. The Lord's appearance is explained in the previous chapter. He appears out of his own sweet pleasure. So we discussed this, right? He is not bound by any karma or whatever. He appears out of his own sweet will. And there is nothing that can control or have a consequence on his appearance. When the time was mature for the appearance of the Lord, the constellations became very auspicious. So this is what I was saying. The constellation in our case, we appear at a specific constellation, which will give us the benefits of our karma. But in the case of the Lord's appearance, the constellations, they become auspicious. They change. The astrological influence of the constellation known as Rohini was also predominant because this constellation is considered very auspicious. Rohini is under the direct supervision of Brahma, who is born of Vishnu, and it appears as the birth of Lord Vishnu, who in fact is birthless. According to the astrological conclusion, besides the proper situation of the stars, there are auspicious and inauspicious moments due to the different situations of the different planetary systems. At the time of Krishna's birth, the planetary systems were automatically adjusted so that everything became auspicious. So this is the beauty, not that the Lord is affected by whatever time he comes, but just that, because that is the material rules that, in auspicious time, when someone is born, then things are good. If in an inauspicious thing, it is bad. This is the astrology. So that is the science of astrology. So to sort of give some kind of a compliance to that, so that people are not disillusioned with astrology science. So the Lord appears like this, and the demigods adjust themselves in such a way that it is also auspicious. At that time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, even in that verse which we are discussing today, we saw that in all directions also become auspicious. Same thing. Ditto, like here also Kinnaras, everybody been discussed. There also what in when Naranarayana is appearing, there also all these Kinnaras, all the Gandharvas, they all also become happy and they start chanting and dancing and all that. Here also the same things will happen. So at that time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. Auspicious stars were visible in the sky. On the surface, in all towns and villages or pasturing grounds, and within the mind of everyone, there were signs of good fortune. The rivers were flowing full of water, and the lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers. The forests were full with beautiful birds and peacocks. All the birds within the forest began to sing with sweet voices, and the peacocks began to dance with their consorts. The wind blew very pleasantly, carrying the aroma of different flowers. And the sensation of bodily touch was very pleasing. At home, the Brahmanas, who were accustomed to offer sacrifices in the fire, found their homes very pleasing, very pleasant for offerings. Because of disturbances created by the Damaniya kings, the sacrificial fire had been almost stopped in the houses of Brahmanas. But now they could find the opportunity to start the fire peacefully. Being forbidden to offer the sacrifices, the Brahmanas were very distressed in mind. Intelligence and activities were very, being forbidden to offer sacrifices, the Brahmanas were very distressed in mind, intelligence, and activities. But just on the point of Krishna's appearance, automatically their minds became full of joy because they could hear loud vibrations in the sky of transcendental sounds proclaiming the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the occasion of Lord Krishna's birth, seasonal changes took place throughout the entire universe. Krishna was born during the month of September, yet it appeared like springtime. So this is what I was saying. So it could be whatever materially, it could be a month which is dryness or whatever. But when the Lord appears, the atmosphere changes. The atmosphere, however, was very cool, although not chilly, and the rivers and reservoirs appeared just as they would in Sharat, the fall. Lotuses and lilies blossom during the day. But although Krishna appeared at 12 o'clock midnight, the lilies and lotuses were in bloom. And thus, the wind blowing at that time was full of fragrance. Because of Kamsa's disturbances, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies had almost stopped. The Brahmanas and saintly persons could not execute the Vedic rituals with peaceful mind. But now, the Brahmanas were very pleased to perform their daily ritualistic ceremonies undisturbed. The business of the Asuras is to disturb the Suras, the devotees and Brahmanas. But at the time of Krishna's appearance, these devotees and Brahmanas were undisturbed. So this is another aspect. Sometimes a lot of our things are in our mind, right? You know, everything remains the same. Like someone sitting next to us may be very calm, but we are agitated. You know, what happened? There is something playing in our mind which makes us agitated. So when the Lord appears, then all of these disturbances in the mind and intelligence are actually gone. Sometimes, you know, we also feel some days we feel very high, some days we feel very low. There may not be very little to do with external factors, like the weather may be still nice, everything may be nice, but something playing in our mind which will make us very dull. And suddenly if we hear some other news, suddenly even if we feel like little sick and all that, but when you hear some, whatever to our mind is a pleasant news, then we suddenly get so much of energy. Where is it coming from? We don't know. Now, when the Lord appears, this happens to everyone, all the living entities, including the birds, the animals, even the river and the mountains and all the demigods. Everyone's heart becomes so pleasing, so blissful, and so happy. So this is, in a way, if we have to extend this further, in Kali Yuga, the Lord appears in the form of his name, right, by his holy name. So that is why we can see all the, for us, Prabhupada is the perfect example. Prabhupada, how because he was carrying Krishna in his heart, because he was always chanting the holy name of Krishna, you will see he is always blissful. Like, and when he smiles, the whole world is seen in his like smile. You see some pictures of Srila Prabhupada smiling. It is so infectious, and it is so blissful to see such pictures of Srila Prabhupada. So blissful. That is the position of great pure devotees when they have Krishna in their heart. For them, it is like the appearance of Krishna. Here we are talking about how the situation is, how everyone feels so light-hearted and so blissful. These pure devotees are 24/7 in that state of mind. So we can imagine how Prabhupada, irrespective of whether he is addressing a 30,000 strong crowd, like, when he was here in India after he came from US, where these Pandal programs, there were some programs like Delhi, Calcutta, Mumbai, places, Hyderabad, he performed, he had these Pandal programs. There were 30,000 people coming in. Just imagine the kind of crowd that is there. Even today, we can't think of 30,000 people coming physically for one gathering. But such was the kind of crowd. And Prabhupada was so, completely energetic. At the same time, there have been, when he was in the US, there have been times when he will go and there will be 4 or 5 people sitting in the hall where they would have arranged a program for Prabhupada, and then they invite so many people. But some occasions there were like few people coming, 4 or 5 people coming. But Prabhupada was never having a, so in a low mood in his mind that there are like 5 people, let me give a small, very simple class. He was always at his brilliance. He gave everything from the heart, from the depth of his heart. And every class of Srila Prabhupada, whether attended by one person or attended by 30,000 people, were full of that bliss. And that means Prabhupada or other pure devotees, for them, they are always with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, that entire auspiciousness is felt by them, irrespective of how the atmosphere around them is there. So this is one example. Now let's look at the next verse. Here also you see the translation. The Kinnaras and Gandharvas began to sing auspicious songs. The Siddhas and Charanas offered auspicious prayers. And the Vidyadharas, along with the Apsaras, began to dance in jubilation. Just like the same way when Naranarayana Rishi appeared, all these Gandharvas, the Kinnaras, the Siddhas, Charanas, they were also dancing in their in their higher planetary systems. We read the shloka also. The same thing here when Krishna is appearing. So it is not different. Krishna, when he appears himself, or when he appears in his various incarnations or empowered personalities that he appears as, there is no, the atmosphere is similar. Now let's look at the next one. So a big one. The demigods, the great saintly person, showered flowers in a joyous mood. The clouds gathered in the sky and very mildly thundered, making sounds like those of the ocean's waves. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who is situated in the core of everyone's heart, appeared from the heart of Devaki in the dense darkness of night, like the full moon rising on the eastern horizon, because Devaki was of the same category as Sri Krishna, as stated in the Brahma Samhita. This is the purport. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibali Tabis Thabirye Eva Nija Rupataya Kalabihi Goloka Eva Nivasati Akilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This verse indicates that Krishna and his entourage are of the same spiritual potency, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. Krishna's father, his mother, his friends and cowherd boys, and the cows are all expansions of Krishna, as will be explained in the Brahma Vimohana Leela. When Brahma took away Krishna's associates to test the supremacy of Lord Krishna, the Lord expanded himself again in the form of the many cowherd boys and calves, all of whom, as Brahma says, were Vishnu Murtis. Devaki is also an expansion of Krishna, and therefore this verse says, Devakyam Deva Rupinyam Vishnuhu Sarva Guha Sayaha. At the time of the Lord's appearance, the great sages and the demigods, being pleased, became to shower flowers. At the seashore, there was the sound of mild waves, and above the sea, there was clouds in the sky, which began to thunder very pleasantly. When things were adjusted like this, Lord Vishnu, who is residing within the heart of every living entity, appeared in the darkness of night as the Supreme Personality of Godhead before Devaki, who appeared as one of the demigoddesses. The appearance of Lord Vishnu at that time could be compared to the rising of the full moon in the sky of the eastern on the eastern horizon. The objection may be raised that since Lord Krishna appeared on the 8th day of the waning moon, there could be no rising of the full moon. In answer to this, it may be said that Lord Krishna appeared in the dynasty which is in the hierarchy of the moon. Therefore, although the moon was incomplete on that night, because of the Lord's appearance in the dynasty wherein the moon is himself the original person, the moon was in an overjoyous condition. So, by the grace of Krishna, he could appear as a full moon. To welcome the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the waning moon became a full moon in jubilation. You see, the waning moon becomes a full moon. So, this is amazing, right? The constellation is changing. Suddenly, when it's supposed to be a waning moon, you see a full moon on that day. Instead of Deva Rupinyam, some text in Srimad Bhagavatam clearly says Vishnu Rupinyam. In either case, the meaning is that Devaki has the same spiritual form as the Lord. The Lord is Satchidananda Vigraha, and Devaki is also Satchidananda Vigraha. Therefore, no one can find any fault in the way the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Satchidananda Vigraha, appeared from the womb of Devaki. Those who are not in full knowledge that the appearance and disappearance of the Lord are transcendental, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, are sometimes surprised that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can take birth like an ordinary child. Actually, however, the Lord's birth is never ordinary. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is already situated within the core of everyone's heart as Antaryami, the super soul. Thus, because he was present in full potency in Devaki's heart, he was also able to appear outside her body. One of the 12 great personalities is Bhishma Deva, Swayambur, Naradaha, Sambho, Kumaraha, Kapilo, Manuhu, Prahallada, Janako, Bhishmaha. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.42, Bhishma, a great authority to be followed by devotees, says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in the core of everyone's heart. Just as the sun may be on everyone's head, yet although the sun may be on the heads of millions and millions of people, this does not mean that the sun is variously situated. Similarly, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead has inconceivable potencies, he can be within everyone's heart and yet not be situated variously. Ekatvam Anupashyataha, Ishopanishad 7. The Lord is one, but he can appear in everyone's heart by his inconceivable potency. Thus, although the Lord was within the heart of Devaki, he appeared as her child. According to the Vishnu Purana, therefore, as quoted in the Vaishnava Toshani, the Lord appeared like the sun. Anugraha Saya. The Brahma Samhita 5.35 confirms that the Lord is situated even within the atom on Andantarastha Paramansu Chayantarastam. He is situated in Mathura, in Vaikunta, and in the core of the heart. Therefore, one should clearly understand that he did not live like an ordinary child in the heart or the womb of Devaki, nor did he appear like an ordinary human child, although he seemed to do so in order to bewilder Asuras like Kamsa. The Asuras wrongly think that Krishna took birth like an ordinary child and passed away from this world like an ordinary man. Such Asuric conception are rejected by persons in knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ajo api san Avyayatma Bhutanam Ishwaropi san. Bhagavad Gita 4.6. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is Aja, unborn, and he is the supreme controller of everything. Nonetheless, he appeared as the child of Devaki. This verse describes the inconceivable potency of the Lord, who appeared like the full moon. Understanding the special significance of the appearance of the Supreme Godhead, one should never regard him as having taken birth like an ordinary child. So like this, when the Lord appears in various forms, we will stop here on the appearance. So like this, even the verse that we were earlier seeing, so that the Lord's appearance at any point in time, either as Lord Krishna or as Naranarayana, is the most auspicious thing to happen to that particular planet. And in this case, Naranarayana appeared as son of Murthy, who is one of the daughters of Daksha. So we will conclude here. If there are any specific comments, questions, we can take. Because when there's no specific commentary by Srila Prabhupada, then it's better we just don't speak something completely on our own. So I had to go to another appearance, similar situation of appearance of the Lord and how the environment was. And you can see in both cases similar instructions. And of course, Prabhupada's purport was there. And we could actually release that purport, and we can relate that back to Naranarayana Rishi's appearance as well. Because here, as it is said, there is no difference between the Lord and his mother also. Now, what is the difference between the Lord and his other appearances as Naranarayana? So sometimes it may be Shakti Aveshi Avatar, sometimes it is the plenary portions, or sometimes his personal appearance. But in one sense, all of them are the same. But of course, when he appears in different forms or in different categories, like either as a plenary portion or as a empowered Shakti Aveshi Avatar, it is just that it is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, but it is just that he may not display the entire breadth and width of his potencies. So that is there. So in that sense, all of them are not equal, but they are also equal. So this is little complicated to understand. How can you say they are not equal and at the same time equal? And that is what is discussed here also. Like Devaki and Krishna are the same, but then can you say Devaki is Krishna? It's difficult to say, but at the same time, that is also a fact, because Krishna is self-sufficient. Therefore, there is nothing that he needs to take from outside world. Therefore, there is nothing called a mother from whom he takes service. It is himself. Same thing here. Murthy, his Naranarayana's mother. Then that is here also. Then that is also the Amsha of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, Naranarayana is also an Amsha of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there, the point I was making is, when the Lord appears in any of these incarnations, it is just that he does not exhibit his full potency in some incarnations. He restricts that to a particular lila, and he refrains, if I should say. Not that he cannot, but he refrains. Just like when Lord Rama came, Lord Rama refrained from marrying many women. He just said, I will be only like he will be only marrying one person, which is Mother Sita. It's not that Lord Rama cannot, but he sort of wanted, for this particular Leela, he just wanted to not exhibit that ability of him to expand into so many thousands and be the husband of different personalities. Just like when Krishna himself, when he expanded into 16,108 personalities, and he married 16,108 women or gopis, and then he lived with each of them independently in different houses, next palaces, and in each house he was doing a different activity. The same Lord Krishna was present in each of the house. So Lord Rama is equally potent, but he did not exhibit that. Same that way when we talk about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, Prabhupada actually was saying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not even an incarnation. He is Krishna himself. It's not like he incarnated as Narasimhadev, or he's not incarnation. It is himself coming as Krishna himself, he is coming like that. That's how Prabhupada actually, in one of the pastimes, he had mentioned that, if you say he's an incarnation, then you have failed. Prabhupada said like that. If you are able to say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, that is okay. But if you say Krishna is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in incarnation, then you failed in the initiation interview. Like that, it happened once like that. And, so Prabhupada made that very clear. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Krishna. But at the same time, if he is fully empowered, he is fully as Krishna himself, like he married 16,108. The same Krishna, when he appears as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not as an incarnation, but himself, but he did not display any other potency of how he did what he did as Krishna, but he showed himself only as the devotee of the Lord. Of course, he showed that to his very close associates. He showed them he is Lord Rama. He showed them he is Lord Krishna himself. That is all there. With very close associates, he showed those potencies. But otherwise, he did not exhibit. He showed himself as a simple, pure devotee of the Lord. And he wanted to teach how to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarvadharman Prityaja Mamekam Charanam Raja. Krishna said, so how can we do that? So he came as Lord Chaitanya and gave the same thought how to surrender. And therefore, he did not exhibit other potencies. But at the same time, one should understand the potencies of the Lord are innumerable, and any of the incarnations are equally capable of exhibiting all of them. But the Lord chooses not to exhibit out of his own sweet will. So I end here. If there are any comments, questions, we can take. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thanks for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. Please help me understand this, Prabhuji, like as we were studying in the starting of the class, that the progeny of these Daksha's daughters and other things were to increase the progeny, isn't it, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu.
So to increase the progeny, how do we understand this? We all have come in the same cycle, Prabhu, from there, or is it? I've heard in some other classes also that Vishnu or Krishna he viewed at the Pradhana and all the living entities that fallen up. So there's a little confusion in this. Can you please help me understand this?
Yes. So there are two things, Prabhu. One is the primary creation, one is the secondary creation. So there is nothing that any of the jivas can create. So everything has to originate only from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, even before Lord Brahma comes, he creates this atmosphere for the jivas to come and take birth here. So that is why this Pradhana, the Lord glances over material nature, and then from there, these living entities are all, what do you call, moved from the spiritual world, because we are all actually pure spirit souls, and because we have some certain desires, and we have rebelled that we don't want to be in the spiritual world, I want to be independently enjoying. Therefore, you need a space where you can do that. You can't do that in the spiritual world. So this is the basic background. Now, to create that space, the Lord is doing the initial, creation, where he is creating this material world, and the Pradhana is where all these things are assembled, and from there they are all sort of like, if you have all the chemicals put together in one place, that doesn't transform into a particular plastic or whatever. So, but then you need that basic chemical all together before that they can become plastic or whatever, silicon or whatever. So that stage he creates, that's when the Pradhana and all that happens. Subsequently, so when all of these things are created, then he leaves it to the next level of creator, who's basically Lord Brahma. So he then manifests Lord Brahma from his navel and says, okay, now I will instruct you so that you can take up the service of doing the next level of, just like when you see a factory, like, there is a process. Initially, all the raw materials are all there. They are all assembled in one place. From there, then from that, it goes through a conveyor system there one by one. The wheel comes, and then another thing comes, then a nut comes that is tightened to the, the shock absorbers, and then that is put on to the chassis. This way, one by one. So these kind of secondary services, it has been allowed to, given to Lord Brahma. So at that point in time, Lord Brahma's job is only to create the bodies, not the souls. So the souls are permanently there. They have initially been absorbed into the body of the Lord, and then he releases them, and for them, a platform to act then this material world is created. So this pradhana, all of these things are coming in, and then the soul is put inside that also, and then the soul is given a body by Lord Brahma. So now you can differentiate between these two. Brahma is only creating the motor vehicle in which the driver will sit and drive. The driver is not created by Brahma. They are already eternally there, but they were caged inside the body of the Lord, and then they are released through this process of creation, primary creation, post which the souls now get a vehicle from which, using that vehicle, they can come and enjoy in this material world. So you get the body of a cat, a dog, whatever, and that body has to be created. No, that is why this progeny. So why this Brahma creates all these sons and says, you go and create, means naturally that process of creating various types of bodies, right? So the cat body, the dog body, the various different types of bodies are created. So that is the secondary portion where the Manu and all the daughters of Daksha, they're all producing various different types of bodies into which the souls which were there, they come and take shelter. Does it make sense now, Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhu, little confusion. As in the last part, you said that Manu and wanted to create all these dogs, cats, and all. They created dogs, cats, Prabhuji.
Every different types of bodies created through these various things, various initial sons of Brahma. From there, they created various different types of bodies.
Okay, Prabhuji.
You see, this is just a production, of inanimate things, the bodies, right? You need to, just like, you see, right? You create from one particular chemical sets, you can produce few different types of materials, right? So like that. So they are all various things which are created. Of course, Brahma, see, it's not easily said the way I am saying. There could be a different various combinations in which these bodies come out. But ultimately, all of them come from the initial creators which Brahma did.
So it's according to the karma they get the bodies, isn't it, Prabhuji? Like,
correct. So according to your desire and according to your karma, when the last pralaya happened, so everything was annihilated. So these jivas which are still having some cravings in their life, I want to do this, I want to do this. Now there is no platform because everything was destroyed. So these jivas are not fulfilled their desires, neither have they gone back to Godhead, realizing whatever I am doing is all messy, I want to go back to Godhead. They are not in that state, neither have they come to the point, I have enjoyed everything, it is enough. So such people, because of the pralaya and everything has to be destroyed, they are absorbed into the body of the Lord. And they are not taken to the spiritual world. They are just absorbed into the external thing, and they are floating there for millions of years. And when the next creation, the Lord facilitates that, they are let loose. Okay, now you go and enjoy. And according to what you earlier started, like, where you left earlier, to experience that desire, you may have to come and take a birth here, assuming I was wanting to become a flyer. I want to enjoy a nice flight all the time. And then I may come and take birth as a bird. So that's how it starts.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. It is very much clear. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandapanam. Jai.
Yes, Prabhu. There's one thing I can read. Beginning from me down to you and Bhava, Shiva, all the great sages who were born before you, the demigods, the demons, the nagas, the human beings, the birds, the beasts, as well as the reptiles, etc., and all phenomenal manifestations of the universe, namely the planets, stars, asteroids, luminaries, lighting, thunder, and the inhabitants of the different planetary systems, namely the Gandharvas, Apsaras, Yakshas, Rakshas, Bhutaganas, Uragas, Pashus, Pitas, Siddhas, Vidyadharas, Charanas, and all other different varieties of living entities, including the birds, beasts, trees, and everything that be, are all covered by the universal form of the Lord at all times, namely past, present, and future, although he is transcendental to all of them, eternally existing in the form not exceeding 9 inches. So they are all absorbed back into the body, and then they are released later to come out and then do further experience of their desires. That's it. Hare Krishna.
So this body means it goes to Mahavishnu body, Prabhuji? Mahavishnu?
Yeah, it's the, yes. see, the Mahavishnu form is also a manifestation of the Lord for the sake of creation. So originally, when everything is done, the Lord, the Supreme Personality of God and Krishna is the only person who's alive. Who's alive means manifested. Nobody else is there. Mahavishnu later manifests later as Mahavishnu to take the further creation. So you can say, it doesn't matter whether it is Mahavishnu or any of the other manifestations of the Lord, but it is the Lord's energy. You can say that it is absorbed into that. Sometimes it's absorbed into the Brahma Jyoti, right, which is the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they are floating in that Brahma Jyoti. We can say like that also.
Okay, Prabhuji. It's clear, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandapana.
Hare Krishna. Dandapana. Okay, so we will end here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.